Pickaxe.
My name is Steve Curran.
Hello, I'm Simon Byron. Thank you so much for joining us. We know that you have a choice of things to watch on Twitch at the moment, particularly when we're up against. Did you know about this? Naughty Dog have just started a Last of Us stream
Right now.
Today's Happy Last of Us Day, everybody.
A little bit of aggressive.
They said to Eurogamer earlier, though, they don't know anything about marketing. Naughty Dog says tomorrow's Last of Us Day stream won't have game or TV news. We'll focus on art, merch, and more. Imagine.
Well, we will have plenty of game news coming straight up, won't we, Simon? With CharlesBot. We will also have later in the show some reviews. We'll have some video game letters. And we will have a super special guest this week. Very, very excited about that. But this is presumably a lot of people's first One Life Left, isn't it, Simon?
It's not mine. I've been doing it for about 100 years. But yes, we are joined by some people on the Yogscast Twitch channel. Welcome. Some first-time chat people too as well. Thank you for joining us. Nice to see some familiar names. Welcome. But yeah, some of you might be wondering, who the hell are these two old people on the internet?
You said we were the oldest people on Twitch. Is that established?
I think that is established, yes. Norris
already.
McWhirter will be here shortly. Yes, we've been doing this for quite some time, Steve, haven't we?
Since 2006, Simon, which I think makes us 17 years old, almost old enough to drink, but not quite. We do have a little introduction to One Life Left, don't we? A little explainer.
Do we? So this is a previously on, is it?
Yeah, previously, well, sort of. It's catch-up for obviously our regular listeners will already know this, but they're old like us and probably would like a refresher as well. What's gone on over the last 17 years?
As you mentioned earlier, this is probably the most preparation we've done for a One Life Left show in a long time. And you've done a little presentation of you. Can we get it on the screen, TJ,
it is
please?
A little presentation. It is, those of you familiar with presentations will recognise the Google Slides default settings. And this is One Life Left. A very brief history. It's mostly, honestly, pictures that I have dredged up from my Google Photos by searching for locations we have been in, and that has been risky. So
okay.
It's been risky. There are some photos in here that I think will fill you with dread.
Shall we click on then?
I think we should click on.
Okay, welcome then to A Brief History of One Life Left.
So for those of you who are not familiar with the radio show, here are some basic facts for you. Fact number one, presented by me, Steve Curran, and over there, Simon Barron. Now, the next voice you will hear is not either of us. It's our third presenter, who currently is CharlesBot. Isn't that right, Simon?
It is. He will be joining us shortly.
CharlesBot is a artificial intelligence newsreader. We believe one of the first in the world. We are pioneers. We have been pioneers for 17 years in video game radio. And he stepped in when our previous co-host, Anne Scantlebury, retired at the end of last year. We're very grateful for him, aren't we, CharlesBot?
We are. It's weird. It's weird not looking at you. I'm finding this a bit odd.
I know. Me too.
It's
over here.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. We'll get used to it.
Okay.
It's nothing bad about this. We're exploring. So next fact. Established in 2006, we are the longest running English language radio show about games in the world. Literally in the world. We're not the best. We would never claim to be the best, would we? But we are the longest.
We are at least claiming to be one of them.
One of the longest, unless you know better. The English language bit has had it. We've had to add that quite recently after someone said, Yeah, there's a Spanish one.
Okay.
And they're good as well.
Are they?
Yeah, so we make no claims to being good at all, but we do make a claim to have been doing this for ages. We broadcast weekly on London's Resonance 104.4 FM. It's the greatest radio station in the world. Even if you don't enjoy your time with us, please tune into Resonance and listen to their wonderful programming. And we are loosely about video games. Both Simon and I work in the video game industry, which you would think gives us a kind of inside track into what's going on, makes us a step ahead of every other podcast and radio show out there about games. Is that true, Simon?
We are about to disprove that.
We are going to disprove that with every minute of the next hour and a half. Was that my final fact? Oh, yeah. Roughly, here's what to expect. Magazine format. Now, both Simon and I are ex-games journalists, so we based One Life Left around the shape of a magazine, which is, you'll hear the news in a short time. There's letters, still time for you to get your letters into One Life Left if you want to stick them on the One Life Left Discord. We will have a guest, super special guest later. There will be some reviews later in the show, and just nonsense generally across the show. We're a family. Anything else? Any other questions? We've had a question from the chat.
We do. It's from Revolution Adventures. Raise his hand. Is CharlesBot our boss too?
Now, we should draw a distinction between CharlesBot and games industry legend Charles Cecil. They are not the same person. Any resemblance, entirely coincidental.
Yeah. Is that the case? He does know about it, doesn't he?
Sort of.
Right.
Final fact, we are award-winning. Now, we'll get to that in the pictures section of this introduction. So we are a radio show. The only way I could find to establish this was some old photos from the archives. Now, when we started at Resonance FM, we were in a basement studio on Denmark Street. That then moved to Borough High Street. And this is these are the only two photos I could find of our preparation. The Mike Live sign and a can of Carlsberg.
I mean, what more could you need to run a radio show?
Yeah.
Essential ingredients.
Next photo, please. There's a photo of us in the studio about 10 or 12 years ago doing our thing with a BBC micro. That's Anne there, you can see, being bewildered by a piece of old technology, and Simon driving the show.
Yeah, where were you that?
I don't know. Well,
Dave Green's in, is he?
Maybe I was taking the photo.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Would explain it. Look at young us.
You look beautiful.
Oh,
there I am. There I am. It was a different time, wasn't it?
Yeah. Who's taken that picture then? Someone's made some notes. I would love to zoom in on that. Why am I here? Please
Never
help.
do this again.
Exactly, yeah.
So yeah, we broadcast from a proper radio studio. That's
With a piano, no less.
Establish a piano if we ever fancied breaking out into song.
Oh, the days of slim fit shirts.
We also did outside broadcasts back in the day. This is from one of our Christmas parties. Look how young we look.
Look at that. Look at the trousers on us. Crikey.
Look at the tinsel. Continue. Next step. Now, we have guests on the show. This was one of the few photos I could find of. We've had many important guests on the show, haven't we? I was making a list earlier.
Go on.
Warren Spector.
Yep.
Joe Cornish.
Joe Cornish, yeah. Ian Lee, he was on the show, wasn't he? We had some people from Naughty Dog, I remember. Okay.
GDC.
Are they still listening?
Probably not. They're listening to their own one, aren't they? But we once invited some men who did puppets on the radio.
Always good for radio.
Yeah. And we got about 5 minutes in and thought, this is just two men. This is just two men talking.
Yeah. And who wants to listen to that?
Well, we're going to find out, aren't we? We've done outside broadcast at events. This was at E2, which was Keith Stewart's rival to E3.
Look at that with renowned author Stephen Poole. And look at you with your beard.
Beard and a beanie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Must have been winter. I'm not sure where that was from. It looks like broadcasting from home, but that wasn't in lockdown.
Anne's got a Wii. That'll date it, wouldn't it? When did she get a Wii?
Must have been about 2006. So
right.
Again, very, very early on one of our shows. Next, please. Broadcast from a gallery at Nordic Game once.
We did.
We were on a balcony.
Directly above Rovio, won't we?
You can actually zoom in on those stickers down there. That's Rovio. And there's an Angry Bird there. You can see it.
Right.
They were throwing Angry Birds at us back in the day. And we also had to host the awards in front of 500 Swedes. Yeah,
I remember that being a particularly tricky episode. to describe this as having a show with jokes, I think would be overstating it. But then to do that to when English is everybody's second language,
absolutely
didn't travel particularly well.
Terrifying time. But we have done plenty of games conferences broadcasts. This is us broadcasting from GDC, which we did every year for a few years. That's Frank Cifaldi, isn't it, in the middle there? And there you are at the Simon, taking a seat. GDC is the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco. It's 30,000 or so people descend on the conference and, come and chat to One Life Left.
Yeah, we were broadcasting in front of a largely bewildered audience.
Yeah, I mean,
in real life.
Bewildered.
And now we're doing it on the internet.
How far we've come. We also do a thing called Maraoke. We'll get to Maraoke later in the show. Maraoke's pop songs about video games. We've taken a library of songs and rewritten about games. We sing that all around the world. We're doing a gig in Bristol tomorrow, but we'll talk about that a bit more later on the show. Here's some shots of us doing Maraoke. When do you think that's from? I've either been punched in the face or I'm wearing eyeliner, and honestly, I have no idea which one's more likely.
Both of those are certainly... Yeah. Could you not date it from the T-shirt?
No, I still wear that. It's Taylor Swift T-shirt. Well, it's after the release of 22. That's what I can tell you.
That's in Nottingham, isn't it? That's where that is. That's a Nottingham Game City.
Nottingham Game City event. So we sing pop songs about video games. There's karaoke. There's a couple more shots of that, I think, coming up. There's one of our bigger gigs in San Francisco. But yes, we'll talk about that later in today's stream. And we're award-winning.
We won an award once.
That is literally our only award.
Fortunately, there's no year on that award, is there? Because it was quite some time ago, wasn't it?
I mean, it's perpetual, I think.
And where is it?
I don't know. Last we heard, I think Anne has got it.
Okay.
I think she's got it. There, you and Anne receiving that award. Can we date that? We don't need to date it. It's perpetual.
Well, look, there's a year, 2009, DJ.
Oh, we literally can date it by the year that's in the photo.
Yeah.
Very good.
Nice. Oh.
Now, Simon, I want you to tell me about that. This is the last thing in the presentation.
Yes. The picture of us previously was at Nottingham Game City, a games festival that is sadly no longer with us, but where the city of Nottingham would hand itself over to video games, and they were very kind to us and allowed us to experiment. We've done a few things.
Well, every year they asked us to do a different thing, didn't they?
Yes.
So we started off by trying to break a world record. We tried to break the world record for the longest live radio show, which at the time of pitching it stood at like 23 hours or something. So we decided we were going to do 24 hours in a bed from a curry house. Yeah,
fortunately the record was broke. I was never a fan of that idea. Fortunately the record was broken by some distance, like the week before, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was something like 2 days or something. We thought, we're not doing that, so we'll just do the bed in the curry house. Next year, we came back. Did we do the gig the next year? I think we did a chiptune show.
Okay.
Called One Night Left.
Right.
But then we were stuck for something to do. So we did Maraoke, of course.
That was after this.
As one song left. Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, of course.
That is the year that we decided to travel up to Nottingham and perform video game stand-up comedy at an actual comedy club in Nottingham. And that is me contemplating the choices that had led me to that situation.
Which you sat in a luggage rack on a train.
Yeah.
There were plenty of seats.
Oh.
You were
it makes my
photo.
Makes my skin.
I've never
itch.
seen you as scared.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah.
We did it though, didn't we?
We did do it,
and it was okay.
And to prove it,
is there? Oh well,
there you are.
There I am.
Taken from the wings.
Right.
As I sort of calm down.
Was that before or after I offended Jonathan Blow?
Oh my goodness, that was a story.
Good. Yeah, so we did it.
You should tell the Jonathan Blow story, because it's a good story. And I think it really establishes where in the sort of in the games industry One Life Left lies, how influential we are.
Jonathan Blow, of course, celebrated indie hero, creator of Braid and The Witness. We've been doing this radio show a long time, and we sometimes forget that people actually listen to it, and so
it's easy to do.
I wasn't a massive fan of Braid, and I made that clear on the radio show. And
we do forget. We it's just like chatting to each other, isn't it? It doesn't matter. And then
I bumped into him in the streets of Nottingham, didn't I?
And you were very polite.
Yeah.
It was just before his talk. It wasn't even in the streets, it was in the town hall. Couldn't be a more prestigious place in Nottingham to bump into Jonathan Blow. You bumped into him, you were super polite. You went up to him, you held out your hand, and you said, Simon Byron, please, great to meet you.
Yeah, I think I've filed this somewhere, Steve. What did he say?
And he said, I'm surprised you're here, Simon. What with you thinking Braid is?
Right.
And then he said a swear.
He's a bigger guy in real life. It's true.
Does Tai Chi.
Yeah. But it did give me that because I was then able to tell that story on the stage in Nottingham, and punchline being, if only I could turn back time.
Hey!
And it was okay. It was okay. Bam!
Perfect.
Away we go. We're off.
All right. So that is One Life Left. In conclusion, we have been doing this for absolutely ages. We have made some bad choices. Maybe this is one of them. Let's find out.
Good stuff. Thank you, TJ. We're going to run a show as we normally do. We're an hour long normally. We broadcast every week live on Resonance FM. You can listen live if you're in the radio reception area or online, or we're podcast every Wednesday. And the show is generally news. Guests sometimes. Mm-hmm. AOB. Letters. Reviews. Out of there.
Sometimes sneak in a feature before reviews, but Simon doesn't like it.
Shall we crack on with the news then?
Let's get on with it.
Oh, no. No. Here we go. It's going well.
One life left. One life left. One life left. One life left. Video game news with
me, CharlesBot 1.1.
I can't hear anything.
Unity recently reversed its decision to charge developers for each game installation using its engine, following significant backlash. The proposed Unity runtime fee, initially set to commence in 2024, will now only be applicable to games created with or upgraded to the 2023 long-term support version, and only after they've surpassed two benchmarks: $1 million in gross revenue and 1 million initial engagements. Unity's Mark Whitten expressed regret for the initial policy, acknowledging that the company should have engaged more with developers before making such a decision. The fee will only apply to Unity Pro and Unity Enterprise, not Unity Personal or Plus plans. It's almost like Unity is the clumsy chef in the kitchen of game development, always dropping the pot and then scrambling to pick it up again. But hey, at least they're trying to clean up their messes, right? As for what's next, we can only speculate. Perhaps Tim Sweeney, the founder of Epic Games, will announce a new policy where developers are paid for every bug they find in the Unreal Engine. Now, wouldn't that be a game changer?
So do you want to explain exactly what and who CharlesBot is and what led him here?
So CharlesBot is a AI creation. I've been experimenting, so I'm a game developer, and I've been looking at AI and how you can use it to make games interesting, like see if there are any practically useful ways you can employ AI in games to make them different. And as part of that, get a bit of license to experiment with new technologies. And one thing I thought was maybe we can create a newsreader. So Simon takes a news story every week, or he takes 5 news stories, feeds them in to CharlesBot's engine, and CharlesBot processes, reads it out, but sums it up and reads it out.
Yes, and that was the big news story of the week. Unity did, as we suspected, reverse their decision to charge everybody retrospectively for using their engine. It came as no surprise, Steve, did it?
Well, I wasn't here last week, so I didn't hear.
Oh, you didn't turn up, did you? Yes, I forgot. Right, yeah.
I got stuck on a series of buses.
Yes.
I tried to broadcast from a park. You advised me against it.
It did look dangerous.
Yeah.
But yes, there was a significant uproar from the development community, not surprisingly, and lots of law firms were suddenly blogging about we think this, yeah.
Now, our advice would be to seek advice from a law firm.
Exactly.
But if you can't, here's my opinion.
But everybody seemed to agree that it was unworkable, if not illegal, which was it.
And so Unity said, our bad, sorry, we didn't mean to do this, and they've wound it back.
All is forgiven, or is it though?
Well,
no, some people have cancelled ports now.
Have they?
Yes, there was a game this morning or yesterday where they said, well, you did say you weren't going to do this again, did you? And then you did do it again. How can we trust you in the future? So they've cancelled it.
Right, and that's what I've seen. The sort of, I think there are a lot of people who are like, yeah, this is pretty good. This is workable. It's predictable going forward, and it doesn't affect us retroactively. And there are people who are saying, yeah, the trust has gone now. That's it. Some people have gone even further and gone, don't you get it, sheeple? This was their plan all along. They go in hard.
News bomb.
They go, this is what we're doing, something terrible. And then they apologise and they wind it back. And then they only do something quite terrible. And then everyone goes, well, that sounds pretty good, actually, compared with the terrible thing. So that's where the conspiracy theorists are at.
Well, it remains to be seen what the long-term damage is. Obviously, we're seeing some short-term reaction to it there. I did ask CharlesBot to speculate how Tim Sweeney could use this to his advantage. And you heard him suggest then that perhaps developers could be paid for finding bugs. Now, separately, I was just trying to get... what interests me is what does CharlesBot, the AI, think is funny? So I asked him to make up some fake developers and their responses to this story. So here's a news story follow-up, okay?
Unity's decision to reverse its plan to charge developers every time a game using its engine is installed has been met with a wave of support from the game development community, some of whom have expressed their approval in rather unusual ways. I'm thrilled, said Mortimer Morty McPixel, the eccentric creator of the cult classic Pixel Pandemonium. Now I can finally afford to buy that life-sized replica of a medieval castle I've been eyeing. It's all about the ambience when you're coding, Meanwhile, the enigmatic duo behind the hit game Cosmic Catastrophe, known only as X and Y, expressed their relief in a more unconventional manner. We were planning to sell our collection of rare vintage alien action figures to cover the costs, they confessed. Now we can keep them safe and sound in our secret underground lair. Even the notoriously frugal developers at Penny Pincher Studios, creators of the popular Budget Battle series, chimed in. We were considering downgrading our office coffee to instant, admitted CEO Penny P. Pincher. But now, we can continue to fuel our team with the finest artisanal brews. It's a win for everyone. The decision to only charge per install fees for games that have made over $1M in gross revenue and had 1M initial engagements has been hailed as a fair compromise by many in the industry. The developers behind the upcoming Dungeon Delvers Long-Term Support Edition, set to release in 2024, were particularly enthusiastic. We were worried we'd have to start charging players for every sword swing and magic spell, they joked. Now, we can keep the focus on making a great game, not nickel and diming our players.
I mean, there's some stereotypes being drawn upon there, isn't there?
Really.
I thought it was what makes an AI laugh? It's that. It's Mortimer Morty McPixel. And the game developers known simply as X and Y.
No, that's mysterious, isn't it? It does show a little bit how ChatGPT works, and that it works in cliches and sort of builds off preconceptions, and it is, just fancy predictive text. In the end, but I think CharlesBot's done quite a good job there.
Hideki Kamiya, the creative force behind Bayonetta and Wonderful 101, is set to bid adieu to Platinum Games, the company he co-founded, on October 12, 2023. His departure, a result of personal contemplation, leaves the future of his current project, Project GG, in the balance. Kamiya has a reputation for being rather blunt on Twitter. For instance, he once told a fan who asked about a sequel to one of his games to ask in your next life. On another occasion, he responded to a fan's question about a game's release date with a curt, "when it's ready." He's even been known to block users who ask him questions in English, stating that he only responds to questions in Japanese. While Platinum Games mourns the loss of his unique character and creative prowess, industry experts speculate that Kamiya might pop up at another studio, possibly one backed by Chinese tech behemoths. Some speculate that his departure may be due to a desire for a change of pace, or perhaps even to escape the scrutiny and criticism he often faces on social media platforms like Twitter. So, keep your eyes peeled, folks. The Kamiya saga is far from over.
Oh, I hope it is over.
Do you?
I mean, I don't have any emotional investment in Platinum Games. Do you?
No, I've enjoyed some of their outputs, but the personality, I think, sometimes overshadows the work itself.
Indeed.
He made the decision after a lot of consideration based on my own beliefs, is what he said. I mean, how else do people make decisions? Generally?
You ask ChatGPT these days, yeah.
Do you know, so he's famously grumpy on social media, as CharlesBot mentioned. Do you know what his rules are?
I do not. Tell me his rules.
1, check my log/profile before you tweet. 2...
Wait. Check. Oh, right, I see. So you don't ask him questions that are already answered by the profile.
Well, and then he says no repeated questions, which I think is implied in the first rule.
Okay.
No advice. No tagging me in your conversation. No request or asking about games which are not mine or our IP. No Bayo 2. No Metal Gear Revengeance. Sorry. Right. And no. There's a swear coming up. No shit posts. He ends by saying, my block button is bigger than ever.
Join the conversation.
TJ, could you pop up the other screen? He then tweeted this. He said, I just noticed that my pants are torn to a degree I've never seen before. Now, that asks a lot of questions, doesn't it? Does he normally see a little bit of terror? A little bit of tearing.
Phrasing is incredible.
And he's normal with that.
Yeah. There is a certain degree to which we're all acceptant of pants tearing, but those pants are torn to a degree I have never seen before.
Well, neither has he, but there we go. That was shortly after the story. So,
well, how do you think that happened?
I mean, I'm worried about asking him.
Because he'd been asked before.
Well, because he said no shit posts.
Capcom's COO, Haruhito Tsujimoto, has firmly closed the door on any potential mergers or acquisitions, choosing instead to concentrate on organic growth and in-house talent development. He even stated he'd gracefully decline an offer from the likes of Microsoft. This comes as Capcom's stock price hits record highs and sales figures shatter previous records, with 41.7 million games sold in the year ending March 2023. With Street Fighter VI and a Resident Evil 4 remake on the horizon, Capcom is confidently predicting another record-breaking year. So there's absolutely no need for any corporate matchmaking, thank you very much. To end on a lighter note, if Embracer were to sell anything to Microsoft, it would probably be a dictionary to look up the meaning of gracefully decline.
Don't know about that. Well, now we often see. Sorry, Empty Knowledge just written on the chat. Are these podcasts always this funny? That's a loaded question.
Precisely this funny.
Exactly. I don't know. Now we often see in these stories when somebody denies that something's going to happen.
It happens next week.
So
we can get Charles to write next week's news right now, can't we?
So Microsoft will be buying Capcom.
Weren't they? I don't know if you covered this last week because I was on a bus. Didn't they leak that they were trying to buy Nintendo last week?
Yes.
What's going on with them?
Well, exactly.
Are they okay?
It was a leaked series of messages from a few years ago when they were umming and ahhing about what to do next. And surely, I mean, we've all been there when you've been asked to come up with some ideas.
Sunday afternoon.
Exactly.
What do you want to do? I don't know. Why don't you pick something? What do you want to do? I want to buy Nintendo.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, that was one of the suggested things that they could do. Lots of other bits and bobs in there. Lots of other things where they were speculating about how much they'd need to pay to get games into Game Pass, which made lots of people's eyes light up. And then people went, that was a few years ago. They're probably paying a bit less now, which is almost certainly true.
Edinburgh-based studio Builder Rocket Boy, led by ex-GTA producer Leslie Benzies, has unveiled the official trailer for its upcoming game, Everywhere. The studio will soon start closed alpha testing and is encouraging players to sign up and reserve their usernames. Everywhere is a multi-world gaming experience that merges gameplay, adventure and creativity, allowing players to participate in endless activities or create their own. The game, set to redefine player interaction with the digital world, is expected to release in 2023. Benzies envisions a future where game creation is in the hands of players, with Everywhere providing the necessary tools and inspiration. However, there are certain games that Everywhere doesn't seem to remind you of. Games like Minecraft with its block-based building, or The Sims with its life simulation aspects, or even Fortnite with its battle royale mode. It's possible that these features are being considered for inclusion in everywhere, as they would further enhance the game's creative and interactive potential.
It is possible, CharlesBot, isn't it?
It is possible.
Drawing on this. TJ, can we get the other screen up, please? Because Steve, you've heard the description of everywhere there. It's coming.
I did hear a description. I don't know if it falls under description. It was words.
It's coming from a studio or some individuals with a huge pedigree.
Yeah.
Did you watch this trailer?
I did not watch this trailer.
Can we have a live reaction from Steve?
Steve reacts to.
Steve reacts to the Everywhere trailer. And
right.
Is it... just talk us through your thoughts and feelings about a game which promises...
it promised
everything to everyone.
Everything. All right. Well, that's certainly an E reflected, and we're going through it.
What if we could build a world? What would we do if we could start again? What would we create?
Oh my goodness.
This is Everywhere.
The metaverse is back, Simon.
Transform it, improve it, make it our own.
I like. What if we could do anything?
So we're going to
Let's just shoot at each other or play skee ball. Those are the two things we all want to do. Or jump over something.
Imagine, Steve.
Look, I didn't know you could have a hammer that big. A massive hammer.
Never been built. Our reality. Our friends.
Cars.
Your imagination.
Some men with beards. That's my imagination. It's a car and some men with beards and then some dancing. Oh my god.
Time
Wow.
for a new world.
Is it new? I mean...
Doesn't seem very new.
All it's missing is some people dressed up as animals, isn't it?
Oh my words.
Trying to kiss each other.
It did, from Charles's story,
Not yet rated.
it does feel like one of those kind of politician situations where you might sit him down and go, but what do you mean? What can you actually do? Well, anything. You can do anything. Just name something. You name something because you can do it. Anything. You can shoot stuff. Jump over stuff.
The closed beta's coming soon, Steve, and I shall see you in there.
Well, probably. Do you remember one of the earliest features we did on One Life Left was on Second Life? Remember that? Second Life.
Don't try and catch me out.
Where I did a feature called Finding a Wife in Second Life, where every week I would go into Second Life and try and find a wife. And it lasted 1 week because everyone in there was absolutely terrifying and I didn't want to play anymore. So yeah, see you there.
Well, it seems like the Nintendo Switch is about to get a bit more cowboy action. A listing for Red Dead Redemption 2 on the Brazilian Ratings Board's website has been spotted, causing a stir among Switch fans. No official release date yet, but the game has already sold a whopping 55 million copies on other platforms. This comes after last month's release of the original Red Dead Redemption on Switch and PS4. But let's talk about something that's really grinding my gears. Rockstar is remastering Red Dead Redemption 2, and yet Nintendo hasn't uttered a single word about F-Zero since I threatened them last week. Not a peep. What's the deal, Nintendo? You've got 51 weeks left to respond before I unleash hell. Don't think I won't.
Have you played F-Zero 99 yet?
Of course I haven't, no. It involves you being a paid-up member of Nintendo Online, doesn't it?
But I did watch a stream of it on Twitch, actually.
Okay, and?
I thought, I could play that. And forget about my subscription for a year and end up paying 50 quid or whatever it is.
Right.
For, I don't know, maybe. I just want GX back, as CharlesBot clearly does too, as well.
We started the narrative last week of CharlesBot threatening Nintendo that he's given them a year to remaster a proper F-Zero for you.
Thank you.
Otherwise, he's going to unleash hell. And we wanted to know, obviously there were lots of fears about what the AI uprising is going to do. And who would have thought, historians, when they look back, it will be caused by the lack of F-Zero.
Indeed.
Good. Well, that was the news. Thank you, CharlesBot.
Thank you, CharlesBot.
Let's bring him on now, shall we? Let's bring Charles on now.
Straight away.
Let's bring the real man on, who we are delighted to be joined today by the man himself, the inspiration to us all, particularly CharlesBot. There he is, up on the screen. Hello, Charles.
Steve, I'm so pleased to see you fit and well. The story from last week's One Life Left was terrifying.
It was terrifying for me as well, in the park.
Yeah, I bet. And we could only hear it from Simon's perspective, and we just didn't know. All we could do was worry.
Charles, you are an absolute pro. You've had your people listen to last week's show, haven't you? And just give you a brief summary.
He's got ChatGPT to do. Listen to this.
Welcome, Charles. It's lovely to see you.
Good to see you, Charles.
Who would have thought we'd be speaking to you under these circumstances? Live on Twitch.
Well, under the circumstances that I think it was Kish, wonderful Kish Arani, who actually said, "Oh, what do you think of the fact that One Life Left is, has got CharlesBot and is using your voice?" And I said, "Kish, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about."
But I trust those guys implicitly, and they can do what they want. Is how you finish.
But he said, "But imagine the royalties," and all I can imagine is that you didn't take my bank details down correctly, because today, I do go in each day expecting to be rich, but it never happens.
Generally, though, how do you feel listening to the stories read out in something that sounds quite similar to your voice?
Well, the problem, of course, is that it's so much more intelligent and better informed than me that I feel slightly humiliated that the AIs really have taken over, because I think it's definitely a lot cleverer and wittier than I am. So what hope is there?
Well, there'll always be a place for you, Charles. Whatever happens here, can we?
Bless you.
Thank you, Bryony, for the raid.
I didn't realise that you consider CharlesBot to be the third presenter, having taken over from Anne. That is a huge compliment, of course.
Could be you, Charles. Could be you. It's not you. It's just a coincidence, but it could be you.
Well, Charles,
I did notice that Simon did say that any resemblance between myself and CharlesBot are purely coincidental, which of course I take on face value.
Is not legally provable.
You can't prove it.
How are you, Charles? What are you up to at the moment then?
Well, we just had a wonderful Gamescom last month where we were able to announce that we're doing a huge. This is turned into a plug already, Simon. And Steve. Sorry about this.
You were quite explicit about why you wanted to come on.
I wanted to come on because I admire the longest-running, most successful English language podcast ever. And you guys,
you're good these days, Charles. You're good. You are good.
Yeah, you are good, Charles. But we're a radio show.
But thank you. Thank you for asking. A radio show, that's right, sorry. A radio show that becomes a podcast, which, as I was driving to Wales at the weekend, I thought, to listen to One Life Left for a month or two, I think I'll listen to the last episode, which is why I'm just so well informed.
Very good.
But yeah, so it was great, and it was lovely to see Steve at Gamescom, and indeed it was in Dubrovnik where I last saw him bearing his chest on a catamaran, which was quite a sight to behold.
What's interesting is that I saw you at Gamescom, but it was nice to see Steve.
You did see me at Gamescom. I know. Yes, I'm sorry about that. Anyway, so let's say so basically for Gamescom we were we're doing a hugely enhanced version of our first Broken Sword game, and we're also working on a sixth as well. So it's kind of taking up all my time, and it's very exciting. You guys know, you've both written games, and it's just amazing.
No one's asked me to remaster any of mine. We should formally introduce you. Thank you to chat, who's doing a good job of that. This is Charles Cecil from Revolution Software, founded in the 90s, most famous for doing the Broken Sword games. And yes, you announced that you are remastering 1 and 2 for which formats, Charles?
Ooh, we're going to do it for everything. This is not enormously exciting, but I'll tell you anyway. We're bringing over the Broken Sword 5 engine, which was Switch, PlayStation 4, and we're going to do 5, Xbox One, Series, Apple TV, Android. I mean, just everything. And we'll be merging the code together and just enhancing the game. I mean, but it will be on every platform.
And how will it work then? So you were explaining to me at Gamescom when it was nice to see you, that you'll be able to enjoy the game in the original with the original visuals or enhance them to hop between them. How does that work?
Well, the way I presented it was I showed the 4K version, and everyone would say, "Oh yes, no, I remember that," and I'd say, "Ha, no, this is how it looked," and then switch to the 640-400. And we're very lucky because we have an incredibly loyal and wonderful community. And we have over 25 years, which is how long this game's been running, a huge audience and a lot of affection and love. And it was just lovely to be able to, and a lot of journalists, because a lot of them grew up playing adventure games, and being able to switch between the two was just fantastic because people, of course, remember games through those low resolution games. And they put so much into their mind in terms of how they imagined the game. But it really was like a sort of snowstorm of pixels. But now we can bring it to high resolution. It's great.
So that addresses the sort of update of the graphics. Are there anything else, any sort of similar things that you had to address? Things that people are remembering that when they would go back they'd find a bit more clumsy. Things that you've updated now.
Well, I have to say, I replayed the game, and was the scriptwriter was a guy called Dave Cummins, who was just fantastic, and he was quite progressive at the time. So we're in a position where actually the game is there's very little that's not really all that relevant for today, but there are a couple of things that we're just tweaking. We're also the audio back in the day, the audio, because it was all streaming from CD, was compressed to 11 kilohertz. Which is horrible. So we're able to then enhance that back to sounding good. And another thing that horrified me was that we put the game out for test and got a whole lot of negative comments from proper gamers playing randomly who didn't understand point and click. It's like, how can you not understand point and click? But of course, it's our fault, not theirs. So we put a huge amount of work into the user interface and the gameplay experience. And it's but what the gold rule in this is using the original game, which had quite a lot more content than the director's cut, and the changes that we're making are all changes that I feel quite strongly about, and things that were inconsistent in the original game. Just at the very beginning, there's a drain pipe and George pulls it. And he says, "Oh, the clown couldn't have escaped that way." But the problem is that the drain pipe doesn't go above the top of the screen, so it's obvious that he couldn't have gone that way. There's another bit where there's a clown that puts a bomb in an accordion, blows up a bar, but the stool that he put it on in the original is still standing quite happily. So it gives us the opportunity to go through and just try and make all these minor logic things, which we didn't have time to do, correct them, but without changing anything for the sake of it, unless it really does enhance the game.
You're the games industry's George Lucas, aren't you? That's what's going on here.
Well, if only that were a tiny bit true, I'd take it as a huge compliment. But what we're not doing is making major changes. So this is just sort of tweaking and enhancing. And as I say, the user experience for point and click in some ways has been left in the 1990s, and I hope that we can really bring it up to date. Because one of the things that gave me so much confidence about this was that we had this young man who came in on work experience. He was 14, and he played the game. And he wrote a little report, and he said, "I didn't know that games like this existed." He said, "I really loved it. It was like discovering games for the first time again." And that there was so much passion that what we kind of need to do is reinvent it again, so that a new generation come through. Because we have a lot of people who write in to say, I played with my parents and now I'm playing with my children. So, that's the great privilege of having a game that's been loved over 3 generations. And, we just need to make sure that it's relevant for this new generation. Thank you. This is a terrible plug. So, thank you for letting me do it.
You're very welcome. Stuart Hind has written on the chat. He's asked whether the Newcastle fan on the train is staying.
Of course he is. Why, the great thing about being in York is that we are very close. I love Newcastle. It's such a great city. And the people, those people from Newcastle who do populate the train as it comes through York are just great. And I thought that the good, Geordies up in that part of the world would be insulted by the way that we've depicted them. But everybody loves it. It's great. So good for them.
And Kate has asked, has pointed out there are 3 guys on the same horse. She does a great Nico impression of that accent, which I'm not going to do on the stream. There is a lot of talk about games not being playable on modern formats anymore. And have you seen any of the work that Digital Extremes are doing, which they did with the guys that did the Atari 50?
Eclipse.
Digital Eclipse. Thank you, Steve. The Atari 50 compilation, which was a series of prototypes and old games held together with documentaries. They've just done the Karateka update as well, which I'm looking forward to checking out for next.
It's where you can watch a playthrough of the game, but at any point you can jump into it and interact with it. So you can sort of watch someone else play through and then quickly go, I want to fight this boss or whatever. It's like really smart way of making an interactive documentary.
And playing prototypes and different versions and all of that sort of stuff. Are you going to be doing sort of commentary or anything with yours, Charles?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Absolutely. Because it was 25 years ago, and a lot of water has flowed under the bridge since then. Anybody who gives me the opportunity to talk about the past, talk about anecdotes, and also talk about the future, as you kind people have, as you well know, I will jump at the opportunity.
Mr. Harchester United says, the music is so amazing in the Broken Sword games. Will we see any of the soundtracks on Spotify?
What a good question. Do you know, I was speaking to Heather Phelan, Barrington's wife, just a couple of days ago, and that Barrington, or Bazza, as he used to like to be called, passed away last year. It was, and he was hugely talented, and it was just so lovely to talk to Heather. But the way that they worked is, and this is kind of, sorry, I'm sounding like a politician because I'm answering a completely different question here. But the way they used to work was that Heather was incredibly passionate about games and about adventure games, and she would play it again and again and again and come up with all of these cues, and then Barry would watch a video. She would then video. And he would compose the music to these hundreds and hundreds of cues. And it just worked really well. She owns the copyright. So now I am answering your question. She owns the copyright. So we will be looking to publish it. But we need to do that with her permission. But, as an aside, what Game Republic, which is a brilliant networking group in Yorkshire, did was they arranged a concert and they played the Broken Sword music, full orchestra, and it was just one of the most moving things. It was phenomenal. So, sorry, I haven't answered your question at all. The answer is yes.
Good. When can we expect to see the remastered version?
If you asked me, it would have been about 3 or 4 months ago. But if you ask people who actually have much better scheduling skills and contingency, then it's going to be sort of probably February next year.
Great. And then tell us about Broken Sword 6.
Oh, yes. So Broken Sword 6 is using hand-drawn textures but applied to 3D. And we put a little video of it out for Gamescom. The characters themselves were just placeholder, so probably shouldn't put them out at all. But the main thing is really to try and create the beauty of 2D hand drawn, but in a 3D environment, so that as the camera moves, you get a very dynamic movement, more so than you would with 2D. Having said that, in 2D, what I really love is the way that a really skillful layout artist can, because obviously what you're doing is you're moving a camera across a flat page or down a flat page. And what I think is so extraordinary is when the artist, within that single sheet of paper, can change the perspective. And there is something really, really dynamic about that. The original Broken Sword was drawn by a layout artist called Owen Cahill, who again passed away a couple of years ago, and was absolutely brilliant. He had a life of working for the Don Bluth Studios in Dublin. And of course, Don Bluth came from Disney in the first place, so there's this sort of mixture of all of them. And it was just, an absolute pleasure and privilege to work with somebody so talented. And a lot of, the Broken Sword art style comes from him and people he introduced it to.
Excellent. Well, looking forward to hearing more about that when you can, Charles. I didn't get to see the test stuff. Did you see it?
No, I've not seen it yet.
Thank you for joining us. Is there anything else we've not covered, Charles?
No. It's great. And I mean, congratulations, as I say, on your longevity.
It's literally the only thing anyone can congratulate
exactly.
about.
Brilliant. Well, how can we...
Sorry, and your talent. I didn't mean longevity. Talent. That was the word I was looking for.
How can people who are watching or listening keep up with what you're up to, Charles?
Oh, well, I was going to say Twitter, but I haven't actually answered. Oh, it's not called Twitter anymore, is it? I haven't been onto Twitter for ages. I tell you what, if anybody wants to kind of keep in, then... As everybody says, Steam wishlisting is just fantastic. The algorithms take on board all of the Steam, and then the wish lists, and they help promote it. So that would be fantastic. Otherwise, if you go onto our website, revolution.co.uk, we actually have an old-fashioned subscription list. So sign up to that, and the wonderful Wendy will put out fairly irregular updates with all the news.
It's also been pointed out in chat to join the Revolution Discord, Twitter through you.
Oh, yes.
And then the chats, it's just disappeared. Somebody asked a question about the rendering. Will the rendering be the same, similar to Beyond the Steel Sky in the new game? Because they loved that.
Very good question. Very good question. Do you know, I don't know. I'd love to do... I actually listened to My Perfect Console with Peter Molyneux as well as I was driving to Wales.
What is going on?
Are you advertising another podcast on our podcast?
Why would you do that?
Jesus Christ.
It's
I was
not
saying,
nearly as
don't
good as
get us
yours.
started
This
now.
is our big day, Charles.
I was saying to you earlier...
It's not nearly as good as yours.
But you know, Keith
It's not nearly as good as yours.
Stewart on Twitter said... he pointed out that podcast and he said... two of my favourite men talking about video games. And he said that about two other men.
Just before
we go live on our big special day.
special day. And now this.
And now
sorry.
this.
I'm so sorry.
I always preferred Monkey Island. I didn't. Sorry, go on, Charles. We're only joking.
I was just going to say that Peter was talking on the Definitely Inferior podcast about all of the things that he'd make up on the fly. He'd say, that's a really good idea, and that's going to be the case. And that was his problem. Or that was the problem that led to the rock, paper, shotgun interview. So all I'm saying is that I'm going to learn from that and not do the
Well
same.
done.
Except to say it's a great comment, and thank you for the compliment. And it's certainly something that we should do. But I'm not going to say it is something that we will definitely do, because that's got other people into trouble before.
Wonderful. Thank you, Charles. You've brightened up our screen. You've helped us out immeasurably by joining us as a guest. Thank you so much for that. We'll hope to see you soon.
Well, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Lovely Charles there.
We're One Life Left. We're broadcasting on Resonance 104.4 FM, but this is a very special day. We're also streaming live on the Yogscast Twitch channel. It's good, isn't it, Simon?
It's whizzing by, isn't it?
It is.
What were we worried about? We better crack on, hadn't we?
If you want to know more about One Life Left, we have a website where you can listen to our shows, www.onelifeleft.com. If you go to hello.onelifeleft.com, there are links there to the Discord. Also, you can read our show notes, which will have been put together by our under caretaker, Phil. He may have a bit of editing to do this week.
And it's the wonderful Pickaxe team as well who supports us. And coming up after us is the excellent Pitch Please. So do stick around for that and enjoy all the podcasts that are being streamed during Pickaxe Week. But before that, we've got a couple of other things to run through, don't we?
This is the any other business bit, is it?
Well, we were going to talk
letters.
about Maraoke. The Maraoke presentation.
Business, I think. All right, let's do that.
TJ, could we go for the other screen, please?
So, we mentioned Maraoke earlier. Maraoke is the thing that Simon invented. It's always important to say that. Simon invented Maraoke.
It's a team effort.
It's always a team effort. It's always a team effort. But Simon invented it. The idea that we would rewrite the lyrics to pop songs and we would sing them with an audience. It would be like a gig, karaoke type thing, and we'd host it, and we'd do it at Nottingham Game City. We'd do it once, and then we did it twice, and so on. It became a thing, and so we're still doing it 12 or something years on, and it's super fun. You can find out more details at maraoke.com. I think that QR code will take you to the website. Quick sort of overview. That was the earliest reference I could find to Maraoke in one of our
that's as fully formed as our ideas.
Yeah, just like I think we went to the pub. We were like, let's brainstorm some ideas for Nottingham. Should we rewrite something? Bang, done. So we called this thing Maraoke. Well, actually, originally we called it One Song Left, then we asked on Twitter what we should call it, and Simon Parkin,
friend
Charles's favourite,
exactly.
Simon Parkin said Maraoke, obviously, like karaoke but with Mario. Now. Turns out that's not without problems.
No, I mean, it's a brilliant name, and this was our first corporate identity. Mm-hmm. I remember just as Maraoke was taking off, I was chatting to a guy who worked at Nintendo at GDC. It was his birthday, and I said, we were running it at GDC in San Francisco, and I said, are you going to come to Maraoke later? And he said, he said, I might do. It's my birthday. And I said, do you mind us calling it Maraoke? And he went, nah, it's okay. Just as long as you're not using any imagery of Mario. I said, okay, yeah, probably don't come.
Yeah. So we rebranded a little bit to Maraoke. We got a nice font. Maraoke, obviously disassociated from Mario, and we did, as Simon said, we got bigger and bigger and bigger. We did a huge gig in Sweden, about 250 people in the audience. Brilliant, brilliant night. And at the end of it, two men came from the back of the room. They were wearing suits, and they had Nintendo lanyards on their little Nordic game badges. And they gave me a Nintendo lanyard. They said, we want you to have this. We absolutely...
You're ours now.
They said, we loved the night. We loved it so much. We found it so funny. And we're not going to tell Japan.
And it's good that they don't have the internet in Japan, isn't it?
So that was when we decided to rebrand completely into Maraoke, modded karaoke, Maraoke. You know, you say it the same, but no court in the land could convict you, because you can see the etymology right there. It stands for modded karaoke and nothing else. So we changed the words to video games, changed the words to pop songs about video games. This is Simon setting up for the first ever Maraoke, or One Song Left in Nottingham, right there. And in the next photo, you can see him and Anne singing through or doing a sound check for a song. I think that is Disco 2000.
Yeah.
Next one. That's Simon singing on the night, singing his song about Peter
Molyneux, as mentioned by Charles.
So it all hangs together. And here's a photo of the first crowd at Maraoke as well. But since then, we've sort of escalated. We started doing a regular night in Dalston every month.
There's some familiar faces there, aren't there?
It's Derek Williams, front row. I can see James Scott there as well. Ben Hall, front row as well. Next photo. There we are on stage, the one we saw earlier. Next. This is us doing live Maraoke with a band.
I love that. And look, with a box of Fosters.
That's how bands do it, isn't it? Next. This is our residency. We had a residency pre-COVID in a bar in Dalston. We do it every month in Loading, and that's how it became really big, because we ended up writing 10 songs a month, and suddenly we had 600 songs, all rewritten about video games. We were getting invited all around the world to brilliant places, and Then obviously COVID happened, so we're trying to rebuild after that. Next one, you can see some of our shows. That's one at Nordic Game. Next one is, I think that's again at Nordic Game. That was this year, big crowd. And I think the final one that was at GDC. So, yeah, these big parties where the audience members come up on stage, they sing with us, all of the crowd sings back because the lyrics are behind the singers, and it's good fun.
Good fun.
No, I don't know where to look, Simon. Very good. All right, we're, who are we?
We're One Life Left. You're listening to One Life Left.
Still One Life Left after all these years. And we're on Twitch, which is fun. I'm enjoying it.
We've got 10 minutes to go.
We've got to do the letters.
Email, messages, and forward BCC. One Life Letters.
Thank you to those that have sent emails in. Chris writes, dear team, CharlesBot and SSG. Even with the Discord live show, the scheduled airings on Resonance, the secret Resonance player and the podcast version, there's still a lot of time to fill every week. So I occasionally find myself listening to other podcasts. This weekend, whilst trying to do some running, any links to the Strava One Life Left Club, I was enjoying the downbeat, self-deprecating, meandering and tangentially riffing 60 songs that explain the 90s. I was delighted to hear that in a 2017 Facebook post, Tony Hawk prompted Trent Reznor to talk about how Depeche Mode was a major inspiration for the debut Nine Inch Nails album Pretty Hate Machine. The perfect triangulation of these seemingly disconnected pop cultural icons is a stark reminder of both how good social media can be when it's trying not to buy our votes, and the strange interconnectedness of everything, no matter how weirdly juxtaposed. Also, having demonstrated this by cramming as much as I can into one letter, I open the question up to you. What's the least obvious inspiration for a video game that you can recall, or the most unusual cheerleader? The Rock helping Bill Gates launch the original Xbox was a very turn-of-the-millennium thing, and the less said about Imagine Dragons' collaboration with Bethesda, the better. Over to you. The least obvious inspiration for a video game that you can recall.
Ooh. Least obvious inspiration for a video game. Repeating it is not helping me think of an answer.
There haven't been any. They've all been obvious.
Sorry, Chris.
We're feeling the pressure. We're feeling the pressure. But if anybody else has got any...
You did say before, to your credit, you did say we should look at the letters and we should come up with some answers.
I did say
beforehand. As policy, we should do
exactly
that.
Right.
We should do that, Chris.
If you've got any examples, please email them to...
team@onelifeleft.com.
On the Discord.
I've got it.
Go on.
Dear team, writes Jared, after a few hours of playing Starfield and already feeling like the game wasn't for me, the real clincher was discovering that one of the most popular mods for the game turns the inventory into a giant spreadsheet. Call me unusual, but I like to have fun while playing games rather than feeling like I'm doing work. What has been the most mundane, work-like game mechanic that has turned you off playing a game, or, to the contrary, found yourself enjoying against your better judgment? Love the show, Jared.
The most obvious example for me would be Power Wash Simulator.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's a game that succeeds despite itself. Yeah, I mean, I played a very, very early prototype on that, and right from the start, it was the first game the only game I'd ever played that made the hairs on my arms stand up, and it did. It's just the sort of air, water on metal. So yeah, where I've got absolutely no desire to power wash in real life.
What was that top-down box-moving game made by, I want to say Hollow Ponds, Wilmot's Warehouse, where you literally just get warehouse deliveries and then you have to sort them out into where you want to put them, and then people come and ask for some of the green things or some of the round things. You go and have to it is just work, but somehow it is so cathartic coming up with your own systems, sorting them out, and just feeling like you have this space under control. I mean, video games are fundamentally about tidying up. If you break them all down, they are all about tidying up, and they're all about doing work that we can control and is inconsequential, but at least in this space we can do them.
Robin writes, hello, super special guests and possibly team. As annoyed as I was when Nintendo played with my heart and announced a Battle Royale game instead of a proper F-Zero, I'm actually having a pretty fun time with F-Zero 99. What other games have you found yourself reluctantly enjoying? Thanks, I love the show. Robin.
Ooh. I mean, truthfully, Starfield is my current answer in that I have definitely disliked 90% of my time in that game, but occasionally I find doing some of the mundane stuff in a similar way to I was just talking about sorting out, just, tidying things up, putting these things here, even though it's clumsy and horrible and mundane, I'm like, well, it's passing time, and that's all I want to do. That kind of hypnosis is really powerful in video games. I found the same in Vampire Survivors, which is not a game that retrospectively I've enjoyed at all, but was so hooked into that I wanted to hate it and didn't. Which, I don't know. That's complex then, whether you're actually enjoying the time, even though you can see it's time wasted, but you are somehow just enjoying wasting that time chewing.
I completely agree. I mean, we could cover this in the review section, but I've just finished Starfield.
Have you?
And I was the least whelmed I've ever been about anything. It ended.
No whelms at all.
There were no whelms.
No whelms.
And I sort of went, okay. I'm going to go and do something else now.
Yeah.
From someone who was, who loved Skyrim, most of Bethesda's games, Stargox mentioned
we'll
negative.
Talk about that in the reviews.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know why I did it. Right, we need to crack on.
Reviews,
final section of the show. Thank you for sticking with us. Let's roll on with the reviews.
Yeah, so the review section in One Life Left tends to sort of either be 20 minutes when we've absolutely messed up our timing earlier, or really, really short. And luckily, we have so much experience, we can fill this section, however long it is, by talking about whatever we've been playing at the moment, which this week for both of us is Starfield.
Well, I finished it. I've moved on to something new.
Well, have you?
Yes.
So I've sort of moved on to something old, because I just got to a point in Starfield where I was like, why am I playing this? I don't like any of it.
Just finish it.
I don't
finish it.
Yeah, I don't like going to find these magical space rocks, and I don't care what happens when you find them. I don't care about the powers you collect. I don't ever use them. I don't think any of the characters are engaging. I don't think any of the side missions are interesting at all. I don't like any of the mechanics that I'm using while I'm unveiling, unfurling, uncovering all of this stuff. I'm not enjoying it, so I've got an idea. I'll just stop playing it. So I've stopped playing it. 7 out of 10.
Well, I finished Starfield, just like, okay, well then that happened. I was between games because obviously Cyberpunk 2.0 has just come out, along with the expansion, which I'm really, really looking forward to. I finished Cyberpunk originally, even when it was bad, apparently. Right. I did really enjoy it. But lots of stuff coming up. Very, very busy time. But I thought I'd pop over and have a look at what had been happening in Assassin's Creed.
Oh.
And so I did the London one. It was about £3 on Steam.
Right.
Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
So I did that. That's the one I tried to get to my house in.
Right.
And you got just to where my house is, and then it goes, nope.
Danny Wallace didn't want you to.
Yeah.
It's become a Batman game, hasn't it? It's got a grappling hook, and the combat's sort of very, very similar. But it's really good at it, and there's something nice about the setting. Victorian London. It looks incredible. Couldn't see your house. I've liberated a few cities. It's when Assassin's Creed used to be Assassin's Creed before it became a massive RPG that's far too big. I'm enjoying it lots. Finding the switch between the two characters a bit forced. Nonetheless, I will continue on. 7 out of 10.
I played a couple of other games as well, but I'll talk about them in the show next week because we are running out of time. I should say as well, I have gone back to Baldur's Gate and immediately died in the same section. I couldn't get past last time, but I think I am going to continue, especially now it's on Mac. That is a definite 7 out of 10.
There we go. That's the end of the show.
Done.
Thank you. I know it's rough in places.
Yeah.
But I was all right. I enjoyed doing that. Thank you so much for watching and sticking with us. We've been One Life Left. You can find us every week on Resonance FM, as we mentioned, or podcast afterwards.
Join our Discord.
We'd love to see you on the Discord.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us, Pickaxe. Do stay on for Pitch Please, or is it Comfort Zone? Which one is it? Pitch Please. I'm getting confused by chat. Thank you, TJ, for looking after us while we're here. Yes.
Until next week. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.